Hi, today I'm going to briefly tell you about the comedy and horror of 2022, My Best Friend's Exorcism. Enjoy your watching. Two girlfriends, Gretchen and Abby, talking on the phone and then get ready to go to school. Abby lives in a poor family, while Gretchen lives in the opposite situation, but her parents are very responsible about their faith. At school, when they hear about the weekend lake party, they understand each other at a glance. At home, Abby asks her father's permission to go to the party, but her mother shows up and reprimands her for that she is not as decent as Gretchen, but Abby gets defensive and says that at least Gretchen's parents don't eat only half-finished food like her and goes to Gretchen's to cheer herself up somehow. Her parents come into the room and tell her they're leaving, which means the girls can go to the lake in peace. One of the girls, named Glee, at the pier asks what is on the other side of the shore. Margaret answers that in that house, one of the schoolgirls was sacrificed by Satanists and it's been rotten for a long time, but you can't tear down the building because it's historic. At night, the girlfriends decide to communicate with demons through a board designed for this purpose. And whether a mythical force or one of the girls moves the form, which indicates that there is someone here, and then the sound comes from the closet and Abby goes to check it out. The form was moving on its own at the time, but none of the girls noticed it. A guy from school appeared out of the closet, so he wanted to make a joke, but Abby is clearly no longer up for a joke, and the sign shows the word mine. The guy brought drugs with him and offered to swim naked, but no one felt the effect in the lake. And Margaret hit Abby with words about her pimples, and she went off with Gretchen for a walk in the woods. And as an adventure, they found the very house on the other side of the shore and snuck inside. They mistake the sound in the next room for an acid effect, but decide to check it out. There turned out to be something there that the girls decided to run away from, but as it happens in movies like this, Gretchen tripped and was dragged away by the creature, and Abby found her friends and reported her missing. They managed to find Gretchen, but already in an aggressive state, and then she got upset and asked to go home. There was an event at the school, and when the men brought across to the stage, Gretchen began to not act very naturally. At lunch, Gretchen got into an argument with a boy and started throwing up on him, which tonight Abby told her mother about. At this time, something pulls down Gretchen's blanket, but when she wakes up and picks it up, no one is there. The next morning, the school teacher, a nun, gives a lecture about the dangers of alcohol. But when Morgan walks in, Abby immediately sees him as a white prince. Behind her, Gretchen asks someone invisible not to touch her, and then asks to go out, but when she is refused, she goes to the trash can and takes a leak in front of the whole class. Abby spends the next few days relatively alone and decides to check on her friend, but her father says they're fine, although at the same second Gretchen runs out onto the road and her to hurry away. As they drive away from the house, Gretchen tells her that every night something comes to her that pulls her away in that house and she can't let it touch her skin. Realizing the criticality of the whole situation, Abby believes she has been raped and tells her parents about it, causing them to kick her out of the house. And as it turns out a little later, they report their drug shenanigans to a nun at school and she in turn threatens Abby with expulsion. At home, she calls Glee to put forward a theory about the guy's guilt in raping Gretchen, but Margaret is there, and she is offended and no longer in touch. Immediately Abby got a punch from the guy for slandering her and a blank stare from Gretchen for telling her secret after all. With a heavy load of guilt, Abby went to apologize that same night, but without getting a response, she left her territory. And the next day, when the friends met at school, Gretchen offered to play a game in which she would take money from people and miss the target so Abby wouldn't fall in the water, and Abby agreed to her scheme. But Gretchen hits the exact target and Abby plunges under the water, and when she gets out, everyone starts laughing at her pimples and Gretchen tells the guy Abby likes that she thinks about him all the time. When the friends meet in the bathroom, Abby declares that their friendship is over. Then Gretchen closes herself in the stall and the voices in her head start whispering to her that she is all alone. Abby also gets mad at her for throwing around words, and she in turn starts stabbing herself with a button. At night, an alarm goes off in Gretchen's house, causing her to have a demonic attack. When her parents turn off the alarm, her father goes upstairs to check on his daughter. She responds that everything is fine, but when he closes the doors, we are shown Gretchen under the influence of a demon who writes the word hell on paper. At school in class, the teacher asks to make a cut on a model of a pig, but Abby sees her mannequin move, which makes the whole class laugh at her and looks like Gretchen did it. Lunch at the company is going on without Abby. Gretchen flirts with Margaret's boyfriend, which makes her angry, but when Gretchen says she is drinking a diet shake from France, Margaret immediately forgives her and asks for a drink, but apparently the shake is not diet at all. At night, Abby has nightmares about the pig, and the next few days Abby spends alone and endures Gretchen's teasing with a grunt. After PE, Abby tries to make up with Margaret and notices her overzealousness in losing weight with the help of shakes. This overhears Gretchen and tells Glee that Margaret loves her, and since Glee is secretly in love with her, she boldly heads over to her and tries to get her friend to sympathize, but she makes fun of her orientation and Glee runs away. Abby suspects Gretchen's strange behavior and begins following her and takes her folder from her locker, while Gretchen tries to support Glee by feeding her chocolate brownies. Abby finds strange notes in her notebooks that make her realize there's something wrong with Gretchen. But that's not all. There's also an inscription that Abby took a photo of in the unfortunate house. And then she sees the sketch of Glee and heads over there, but Gretchen has already fed her friend with allergies, a chocolate pie, which makes her sick and an ambulance should be here any minute. That same day, Abby goes to visit Margaret, who has lost all health and can't even think about food, as if someone has poisoned her. She has an attack in which a tapeworm emerges from her mouth heading for the ice cream, but the dog grabs it and possibly saves her mistress. Abby goes to the mall to find the same man who noticed something otherworldly in Gretchen during a performance. He lists the signs that her friend has been possessed by a demon and she confirms them. Abby asks for his help and he agrees for 10 gift cards for yogurts because he loves them. They come up with a plan in which Abby sneaks into Gretchen's house and mixes her a cocktail with sleeping pills. But when Abby tries to get out of the house, Gretchen shows up behind her and pounces on her friend and beats her, but decides to catch her breath with her cocktail, which makes her fall off her feet in an instant. That's when the heavyweight and Abby take her to the country house and then tie her up. In the living room, they discuss a plan of action but hear Gretchen scream. She begs to be let go and acts like the real Gretchen. But Abby decides not to trust her and calls the demon's name Andres. Immediately, the man leads Abby out and scolds her for talking to the demon, but then returns to Gretchen. As they dump salt on her, the lights around her begin to flicker and she twists demonically, and then the demon's duplicity comes into play, which makes the guy only happy because his mother would be proud of him. And a little later they're going to baptize her in the tub, so Abby covers her friend with a blanket for now, but our weightlifter shows up and is about to pour boiling water on Gretchen, but Abby stops him. That's when his mom shows up and starts blaming him for her death, then starts burning from the inside out and melting like plastic. Unable to withstand the power of the demon, the guy just packs up and runs away, leaving Abby alone with the Bible. But the fun part begins when Abby discovers that Gretchen is no longer tied up and the house lights go out. Gretchen immediately pounces on Abby, but as she reads the Bible, she heads for Abby again and bumps into a sharp bayonet, from which she immediately runs away. Abby immediately moves to the house where it all began and finds Gretchen there, who immediately begins vomiting huge amounts of liquid, from which a little later the whole creature will assemble with which the girlfriends will have to fight. But Abby manages to make a flamethrower out of alcohol and a lighter and win this difficult battle, after which they admit that they have long missed each other. The girlfriends return to their old lives, but Gretchen's parents decide to move out, so the girls decide to say one last goodbye and part ways. But as it turned out a little later, even when Gretchen left they remained best friends and went to the lake every year. Subscribe to the channel. We want to reach the goal of 10,000 subscribers. Thank you very much for your viewing. Like and comment on the video to get more people to see it, and also enable notifications to be the first to know about new videos.